Welcome to This Open House, where we talk about all things real estate related. With your hosts, David and Rebecca Guthrie of the Hacienda Group at Long Realty Company.
Welcome yet again, another episode of This Open House Show. And I am your host, David Guthrie, Hacienda Group at Long Realty Company, with my beautiful, amazing, brilliant wife. I don't know why she puts up with me, because she's the brains of the operation, Rebecca Guthrie.
Hi, guys. And I do it because I love you.
Oh, well, I guess I grow on people. You can reach
you
us.
You shouldn't say that, because it opens people up to all kinds of insults. Like, I think that's not a thing that you should say.
Okay. Well, I'll take your word for it, because you know best. 520-462-2611. That is our phone number. You could text us. You can call us. You don't answer, leave a voicemail. It's because we're either doing a radio show or we're with another client, or maybe we have babysitting and we have a date, which happened twice last week.
It did. It was a rare occasion. We went for 6 months without a date, and then we had 2 back to back.
Isn't that crazy how that happens? We're making up for lost time, and when those kids are out of the house, you better believe there's going to be a lot of dates. Info, thisopenhouseshow.com. That is our email show ideas, questions, comments. We're happy to be a safe source of real estate information for all of our listeners and your extended friends and family. So if you have questions, what's my house worth? Do you think I should fix this or replace this before going on the market? Heck, do you have a name of a decent plumber? Whatever.
All the above.
All the above. Go ahead and let us know. You can also do full MLS search, www.thisopenhouseshow.com, day or night, 24/7. And if you like properties on there, then we could start doing some more research on them if you sign up. Let's jump into the market. As I pulled these stats on October 19th, 2021, we have 1,260 current active listings. That's up just slightly from 1,244 back October 5th, 2021. So we're kind of hanging around this number here. This is a good number, but it is still extremely low.
Yes. And what it tells you is if your house has been sitting on the market for a couple of weeks, you need to look at your price.
Yeah, you might be overpriced, or you might have some other issue that is prohibiting you
right,
from
but
selling.
any other issue can be fixed with price.
That's true. That's true.
All issues with a house can be fixed.
Yep.
Pricing it properly.
Absolutely.
All of them.
Absolutely. Everything will sell for something. Looking back at the last 4 to 6 months, our median sales price was $285,000. And now, in the last 3 months, we've seen that shoot up to $299,000.
Wow, we're almost at $300,000 as our median sales price.
We are almost. And,
I don't know what I think about that.
Well, interest rates are still really low.
They're still very low.
And, we have a lot of different income coming into people's pockets. You have stimulus payments happening.
Yeah, but those aren't happening really anymore. I mean, the kid tax credit is, but that's only going to people if you have children, which not everybody has children.
That's true. But for those who do, that is a significant
right,
boon
it is.
to
But is it being put towards housing, or is it being put towards childcare or extracurricular activities for your kids?
I would argue it might not really matter. Like, maybe you're not actually adding on. It'd be interesting to poll people and
that
see
would be really interesting
what
to
are they
figure
using
out.
this money for. Because
so I know people who are putting their kids into preschool that wouldn't otherwise be able to do it, so they would have just been at home because they couldn't afford the tuition. And I know people who are adding extracurriculars to their kids because they have that, but they're adding things that they didn't have before. I don't know
that's the people we know, though.
Right, that's the people we know.
Or some people just kind of doing the same thing, and instead of paying for the basketball camp at a pot, they're like, man, this is great. Now they've got that extra $100 to put towards.
Right, but I just don't see that you would put that as a budget for housing, because it's not permanent, because it could go away. It's a temporary thing.
Neither is this inflation rate. At least that's what they're telling us in Washington. That is currently sitting at 5.4% over the last 12 months.
Does that include food? pork. Has anybody looked at bacon lately? I think it was something like 18% increase. I saw something the other day about this.
I'm sure there's a ton of pork in the spending that's
gas
going on
is
in
up
Washington.
42% year over year. That's super
wild.
exciting. So I don't know. I all the way around the whole, because money for a
Gas
household
to heat your house
is going up. Yep. So, but a household budget, unfortunately, cannot print money like the federal government. You and I can't decide all of a sudden that we're going to have $1 million annual income and just spend like we have $1 million annual income when we have, let's say, $100,000 income. Like we just don't get to pretend to do that. Most households can't. And there's only so much credit that a credit card's going to give you, right? Like there's going to hit a point where at some point normal people have to pay it back. So all of the prices and everything, money's not, it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense, and it's only because I've been married to you for so long that I know what you're saying before you say it.
Probably our listeners are going, no, it makes no sense at all.
Well, I mean, the main thing to take away from this is that we have a 5.4% inflation rate over the last 12 months. In 2020, it was at 1.4.
Right.
2019, 2.3. There was a period of time in 2014 and 2015. We had 0.8 in 2014, 0.7 in 2015. So, I mean, the dollar is always seeming to go towards worthlessness.
Yes. Right. But the thing is that, and this is a policy conversation that may be beyond the scope of the show and the 30 minutes that we have every Saturday to do this, but there is concern about, in the last 4 to 6 months, it was at $2.85, and now in the last 3 months, it's $2.99.
Right.
That excludes a large portion of people from being able to have home ownership. And I think that that's something that our audience should at least be aware of.
And that's the thing. And housing affordability is eroding quickly.
Right. Go try to find a $150,000 house right now.
And I don't think it's as simple as just saying, well, we need to pay people more.
No.
I know that is a lot of great people feel that, hey, if we just give people more money. The problem is that when you give people more money,
everything costs more
because everything goes up in price, including rent.
Right.
You may have a fixed mortgage payment or something like that. If today you qualify and then tomorrow all of a sudden you get, $5 to $10 an hour or whatever increase in your hourly pay, it's not going to necessarily change your mortgage payment. But as those things happen in a rising tide of affordability, more spending, more demand, prices are going to go up. And pretty soon you're left with maybe worse than you were before, even though your paycheck shows you're making more.
So it's good for homeowners, right? I mean, it's good for people who are able to get in, but then what's happening on a public policy level, and I don't have an answer to this. It's just a thing that I want our audience to think about. The answer on a public policy level, you're creating two classes of people. People who can afford home ownership and then are able to grow their wealth in the inflation of the housing prices, and people who are not ever going to be able to get in. And I think that we should actually start having a conversation about that. I think, people have been having conversations about this, but I think it should start being a more, and I believe in the free market. I believe in supply and demand. I believe that if people are willing to spend that, but I also see what politicians are doing is impacting it. And I think we're running towards a cliff faster than we realize we're going to get there. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, the 200-mile-an-hour freight train is slowing on the real estate side because we have had so much growth and activity.
Right.
The problem is that there's so many other things that impact.
Right. And part of this too, I know, is that I know people who've been saving and trying to get into a house, and they've been saving, and now they're being priced out of where they want being able to get into home ownership, not through any fault of their own. And what do we do with that? Right.
Yeah, I don't know the answer, but what I know right now is that when we still look at the numbers, we're still looking at these numbers here, even at, right now today, okay, taking the 299 number, that encompasses all bedroom counts in the city, everything. Looking at 3-bedroom homes like we always do. We've kind of taken that stat and made that, that's kind of your majority. Your rent is $1,645 a month right now. Today's numbers on the MLS based on rented properties that are reported. So your 3-bedroom home is going to cost you $1,645, but your 3-bedroom home, $283. All right, if that's about what you're spending, 20% down payment, you're looking at $1,335 a month. That's still a savings of $310 a month. You don't have the mortgage insurance attached to that, and other things. Now, we know also in rising property value economies, based on how our property taxes are assessed, your property taxes will increase.
Yes.
But they will not increase, hopefully, unless you vote it in, the kind of increases that you're going to have with rents, like they've gone 18% in the last year. And so when you're looking at these numbers, it's still affordable, I would say, compared to renting.
I would agree.
And it's time to, buckle up, look at the future. Where do you want to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now? This is a good time to go ahead and have those conversations, because this window of low interest rates,
it's going away. The Fed's already talking about by the end of 2022, they think interest rates are going to be around 4% for mortgages. So
which still
it's not high. I mean, historically speaking. Historically speaking, 4% is not high.
But as those rates come up, you're going to start feeling the pain of those other things. So speaking of where we're going to go into a break right now.
Okay.
And on the other side, we can go ahead and talk about negotiating in good faith.
I think that's a great idea. So we'll catch you on the other side of the break.
Are you interested in the real estate market? What does low inventory actually mean? Funny, real-life real estate stories and things you should never do if you're looking to buy or sell a home. Join me, David Guthrie, and my wife, Rebecca Guthrie. We are full-time real estate agents with the Hacienda Group at Long Realty Company for this open house on Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. on 1030 The Voice, where we will discuss all this and more. That's This Open House on Saturdays at 11 on 1030 The Voice. Welcome back yet again. David Guthrie, Hacienda Group, Long Realty Company, with my beautiful wife, Rebecca Guthrie.
Welcome back, guys.
Yeah, so we're here. We're going to talk a little bit about some good faith negotiations. In some of our stories, we change the names of the guilty to protect the innocent and all of that fun stuff. But these are some real life things that Rebecca and I see on a daily basis.
Yep.
And right now, we've said this many, many times on our show, that crazy markets like this bring out the worst in people.
Yes, they do. In both buyers and sellers.
In both parties. I mean, all over the place. We start
and
seeing,
agents.
Yeah. We start seeing this, desperation kick in.
Yeah.
Now we start seeing people do things that they would not want to have done to them.
They're definitely not following the golden rule.
They're not following the golden rule. They're sitting here and they're just trying to get by. And when you see affordability eroding like we're seeing, it can be tough, especially for some of our buyers who they're relying on like a VA loan that has a few extra physical requirements of the property, but in my opinion really aren't that much more strenuous on the transaction for things like valuations and other things. But there is a big push within not only the real estate community, buyers and sellers, but I've had all kinds of people say, hey, VA loans, they're bad, they're harder to get through, don't take them, don't accept them. And part of that is the Department of Veterans Affairs has done a really bad job of promoting this product. They've spent years putting veterans on an unlevel playing field with respects to the cost that they force sellers to pay on behalf of them for their loan. But if you have a disabled vet who's classified as disabled, the funding fee is waived. It's a great deal. It's a great thank you for serving our country to our servicemen and women.
Absolutely.
And I hope it doesn't go away. But for a long time, there was this whole, you can't hardly pay for anything. And so they needed closing costs on every deal. And that really put them at a disadvantage. Well, finally, the VA realized this and said, hey, we're seeing our veterans be put at a disadvantage. We're going to change some of these things. There's still requirements,
Right.
but it's not the same. And usually the termite report is the most difficult thing to get through here. With that said, because of the misconception in the real estate community about these things, I feel it's much harder for our veteran buyers to be able to get contracts accepted in this market, especially if they're competing against multiple offers. And so, we had a transaction very recently on one of our listings, and, we've been in the shoes helping buyers out where you've got multiple offers, multiple things happening, and it's just extremely difficult to get a transaction. Well, this particular buyer came in, really great terms. No inspection period was waived or anything like that, but they did say, hey, we're not going to ask you for any repairs, over asking, smooth sailing, and basically a please pick us because we have been getting beat up out in this market. Well, our seller, said, yeah, let's bless these guys and let's go through and look at this thing. We're under contract. Less than 8 or 9 hours later, we're receiving cancellation on the file.
So we've taken it and made it to from active to active contingent.
We've taken a property literally off the market.
Right.
And so now it's off the market. The seller has moved away from other buyers who were actively looking, and we're under contract for just a few hours, and we get the cancellation letter back. And the cancellation letter essentially says, property didn't have a garage. The buyer wants to cancel. Well, the property never had a garage.
Right.
The property has a carport. We've
That was
always
visible from the street. You could see it when you looked at the property.
Right. Even if you don't have physical eyesight, this is something that is so apparent.
Right.
That unless I just don't know how that could even be
Right.
something that would ever occur. You don't know.
So-
It's like going in and canceling after a couple hours saying, well, the property doesn't have a bathtub in the master. Well, duh. That's what it has as a walk-in
Right.
shower.
Right. So
Yeah.
we wanted to use this example to talk about negotiating in good faith. And what that means in terms of why, one, it's the ethical and moral thing to do, but as a buyer, particularly what you're doing to a seller when you put a property under contract for something that's material to you,
Right.
that you can see in the property and cause the seller to pull it off the market, the harm that you're actually doing the seller.
Yeah, and this goes in a couple of different directions. One, apparently this particular buyer was saying, "Oh, well, we want to collect bids," and we found out it was not affordable to add a garage on. Well, if that was a material part of this transaction and you knew about it,
Right.
don't go and lock the property up,
Right.
Because everybody knows. Audience, just put yourself in the mind of the seller. You've got multiple offers, and one of them says, I really need a garage. This doesn't have one. I'm a VA buyer with no down payment. I'm going to go and collect contractor bids to see if I can afford this. You're probably going to go with a different offer. So we all know that's the case. And knowing that, buyers might be compelled to say, well, let's not say anything about it.
Right. But then that's not operating in good faith, because good faith is operating in the manner that assumes that you're going to move forward with a property and gives the other party all pertinent facts that they know within a reason.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that, whenever I talk to people about this, when houses get taken off the market, and it doesn't matter what market it is, it could be a super hot market, it could be a super slow market, but when a house gets taken off the market and then put back on the market, what do people assume? They always assume that something is wrong with the house.
Right.
Never do people assume when they see that there was something wrong with the buyer, unless there's something in the agent-only remarks that talk about, hey, the buyer flaked. So you actually do cause material harm to the seller, because then it's likely to sit longer,
Right.
and fewer people are likely to look at the property because it was taken off the market. And so they assume, got put back on the market
Right.
because there's something materially wrong with it.
Especially if you're not able to pivot and get that other buyer back. But it's like back when we were dating, okay? If you had asked me, which she would, and I asked her, that's just the way it rolls. But if you had asked me, I said, well, hold on, I got another date. I'll get back to you in a week or so. That usually doesn't fly very well. Like really, it's like, hey, what are we gonna do here?
Right.
Right.
It's sort of like those girls who have the backup guy, the friend who's in the friend zone. The
You don't
boy
have one of those, do you?
I
Better
have
not.
not. I never did. I think it's so
Okay.
wrong. It's not even funny. But I had girlfriends who had a guy friend who was, if this doesn't work out with this person, no, relationships don't work with that. Offering on houses shouldn't work like that. It's wrong. And it's not
Unless
how you would want to be
you
treated.
Disclose, okay? Because one of the factors of contract law here is adults over 18. So if you're going to disclose, hey, I got a backup mate. If you want to disclose, hey, I got a backup property I'm making an offer on, or if you want to disclose, as our contract says in Section 5C, line 207, buyer warranties, buyer warrants that buyer has disclosed to seller any information that may materially and adversely affect buyer's ability to close escrow or complete obligations of this contract. In this case, having to get quotes to build a garage and go
Right.
through the permit process and do all of the things to see, is this something that is feasible on this lot? Because, by the way, guys, you can't just necessarily pop open a garage
Right.
on a place. You got setback issues. You got all kinds of stuff
Their
that needs to
permitting
happen.
issues, their stuff.
Yeah, come on. Like, if you're going to go disclose that,
And there's a section in the contract that says underneath on lines in section 5C, lines 211 and 212, there are blank spaces for you to write
Yeah.
things like, we're looking to see if we can add a garage.
Yeah, we've got some verbal representations that a garage can be put here. We're relying on that. We need to make sure that we could build this garage for $2,000 like our agent told us. Oh, wait, it's going to be more like 20 or 30. Oh, boy. Well, then that's a legitimate
Right.
cancellation.
Also, agents, if you don't know how much something should cost, don't guess. Say, I don't know, we can find out. And actually, even if you think you know, you should say, I think it will be about X, but I'm not a contractor and cost of lumber has gone up significantly.
Yeah.
And so we should find out.
So what a waste of time for everybody, seller, buyer. Fortunately for our seller, we've got this all worked out. We're all back on track. Everything's cool. However, for the buyer, who knows? This could be a whole bunch of waste. And I can assure you guys, Rebecca and I have a process
Oh,
for
yes.
this. Every
Yes, we
single
do.
buyer that comes through our office, we go through a very detailed buyer consultation. That is not designed to have buyers go and sign their life away
Nope.
and do all kinds. No, this is merely, we are going to educate you, but you're going to also educate us, because it goes two
Right,
ways.
because if you're looking for a 3-bedroom house in East Tucson, we need to know that so we don't show you a 7-bedroom house
Right.
in North Tucson.
Right. Because what we will never do is show a home with a carport to a buyer who needs a garage. And we're not going to find out about it mid-escrow, because we're going to already have had that conversation
Right.
with our clients.
Many times.
And we
Yeah.
do that not only to not harm the sellers out there, not upset our colleagues, but because, Rebecca
It's the
and I have
right
been...
thing to do.
It's the right thing to do. And who has time for that, to run all
Right.
around looking at stuff that's not going to work? So, if you guys want somebody who's actually going to help you, consult with you, listen to you, and make sure that you are seeing the things you need to see, what we can't help, Rebecca and I, we can't change the fact that maybe the prices are higher than you were originally wanting to pay.
Right.
We can't help that the neighborhood you really want might be not affordable for the size you need or whatever. Those are things that are outside of our control. But what we can do is try to counsel you through all of those points.
Right.
And we can start massaging that, and maybe really the price ceiling is the hard ceiling. That's not going to change. But maybe you can get by with a garage and not a carport, so that when we go and actually show you those properties, we're not giving whiplash to anybody and doing the wrong thing.
And
there.
also, one last thing, agents, respect your clients and also respect the sellers, whether you're a buyer or seller. Educate your clients on this process, because that's our job, it's our job to do this. So
Right.
have pride in that and do your job well.
Right.
So that
and one quick caveat: this is not saying that buyers don't have the right to do investigations.
Oh,
They
yeah, no,
clearly
of course
do.
not. Yes, of
they
course
should
they do.
investigate everything, zoning, all kinds of stuff.
That's what the inspection period's for.
There are lots and lots and lots of things that need to occur, but just like you wouldn't go and say, oh, I'm gonna have to go build a guest house. How much is this gonna cost? Oop, it's not gonna work. This is stuff you need to be figuring out before, at least letting the seller know that is going to be a material fact to you in order for you to complete the contract.
Yep. So
All right.
that is our our
That's
thoughts
story
for the day.
time with Rebecca and
David.
And we're just so happy to do
Yep.
this show every
we
week.
love this show. So if you want to reach us, David, how can they get a hold of us?
Oh, I don't know.
www.thisopenhouseshow.com
520-462-2611. Anytime, call, text, leave a message. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next week. Have a great weekend.